Okay, I got a bone to pick with some of y'all.
Oh, oh.
Coming in hot. I'm just kidding. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of our podcast where a current and an ex student athlete sit down and have real discussions with other student athletes and ask the questions that nobody really asks. My name is Ariana Fernandez.
And I am Maya Falcon. And today, despite that intro Ariana just gave us about sitting down with other student athletes, it's just us two today. What's up, Nance? How you doing?
I'm great. How are you doing?
You know it is, man.
Anyways. But for real, Maya, how are you doing today? How are we doing?
You know, today is what? We're recording this on Monday.
Yeah.
Usually we record on Sundays, but
No different today.
We just didn't. Yeah, and that's my fault, my bad. But
oh my god, life is hectic. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying, man. But no, I'm good. Yeah, yesterday we celebrated the 2-year anniversary of
Go Raps,
big boy
baby.
right
Go
here.
Raps, baby.
The NBA championship, you know what it is. I don't know who I have for winning this year, to be honest. It's been a weird season.
Mm-hmm. While we're filming this, I mean, the day that we're filming this, the Suns just swept Denver 4-0.
They did.
Crazy stuff. I mean,
Good
because
for them.
I think because the Raps aren't in the finals, I haven't been watching. I've been keeping up with it, but I just haven't been watching just because I'm like uninterested. But
yeah, I think too, like for me, even during the regular season, I just wasn't into it as much because I just think
same. Mm-hmm.
It's not even just because the Raptors, didn't have a great season or whatever. It's just like it's just so different without. Once the fans started to come in, I was like, okay, this is good. This is better. This is better.
Mm-hmm.
But
It
it's definitely
everything. It changes everything.
It's been whack, but
it has been.
But what I am psyched for in regards to sports, I believe someone is competing at Olympic trials this week.
Oh my god, who?
Correct me if I'm wrong. Girl. That would be you.
Oh,
yeah. Some other swimmers in Canada and even some guests that we've already had on.
Yeah, but even across the world. I mean, currently, again, while we're filming this, Australian trials is happening swimming, Olympic trials for swimming, and then Canadian swimming Olympic trials is happening this weekend on Saturday, and I am going to be.
How are we feeling?
You know what? For once in my life, I am just excited to get to swim. I've been truthfully and honestly, I've been saying that this whole entire year because this pandemic, I'm sure, has taught everyone that you should be grateful for what you have. And especially being in a sport where you can be out of all Canadians felt this, and some of them are still feeling the impacts of COVID because some people haven't trained for the entire year. And that's a crazy thing to think about. I'm truthfully really grateful that I get to even race, that I even get to swim, that I get to be in that environment. I didn't make Olympic trials when I was 16. I just missed it and I was heartbroken. So the fact that I'm even here doing it this upcoming week, I'm just grateful. And I mean, I'm just excited. And it's an exciting thing. You watch, that's one thing I missed. I forgot how much I missed. I was watching Australian trials and US trials the other day. And as a swimmer, that's how I got excited about swimming, like watching the Olympics or watching US Olympic trials, because I was really exciting to see. And that's when I fell in love with the sport. And watching it over the past couple of days, I fell in love with the sport again because I was reminded actually how much I love the sport. And it's so exciting to see people achieve their Olympic dreams. It's not something that everyone gets to do. And to see people just get so emotional about making an Olympic team or making a team that they've dreamed of making since they were kids is just incredible to see. So I'm excited. I mean, truthfully, I got nothing to lose. Like in my mind.
So shoot your shot.
Exactly.
Shoot your shot.
I feel like one thing that resonates with every single swimmer out there, if you got a lane, you got a chance, like anything can happen. And it's exciting. It's an exciting environment to be in. And I'm truthfully honest. What? That's not it. I'm truthfully and honestly really grateful to be able to be there. So looking forward to it. But
I'm gonna cheer you on so hard.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And if anyone's listening, who's a big fan of Ariana, you can actually send Ariana a cheer from Swimming Canada, and then she can hear it before she races, because I don't think there's allowed any spectators at all, right?
Yeah, not at all. Yeah.
No spectators at all, which changes the meet drastically. Like,
100%.
It changes everything pretty drastically.
Yeah.
But
I mean, just look at the NBA, you know, like there are no fans, and that changes everything, right? So yeah, Swimming Canada is doing a thing this year where you're able to send in a cheer for any of the swimmers that you want to cheer on. I'm not saying you have to, but if you want
I'm saying you have to. I'm saying you have to. If you have the ability to, I would 100% recommend sending one to Ariana, because, you know, we're cheering for you, we're rooting for you, and we're so excited to see what you do.
Thank you so much.
It's been a tough year, I know, and it's, you know, all you got to do is go out there and have fun. Like, it's cheesy, but it's true, because this is the second time you've raced in the past 2 years.
Yeah,
so
which is so crazy to me to think about. But enjoy. For anyone listening, if you're just getting back into competition, or even if you're just getting back into your sport, enjoy every single moment that you have. Vice versa, if you get back into it and you're not enjoying it, that's fine. That's totally fine. You know, some things happen, and maybe you don't love it as much as you did before. Maybe you got to push through it a little bit, but if you're noticing that, you know, maybe it's too much for you, that's okay too. I mean, it's okay to feel frustrated. That is completely understandable. When I first got back into swimming after the pandemic, I was so frustrated. Oh my God, I missed practices. I didn't want to show up. You know, it is really hard to get back into it, but perseverance is key. Pushing through, you know, and even if you don't want to, listen to yourself, listen to what your mind and your body is telling you, and that's completely fine. But yeah.
Period.
Maya, give me one high and one low from your week. I know it's Monday when we're filming this, but little reflection.
Well, a little reflection.
Yeah, think about
it. Well,
give me a low first.
A low?
And then a high. Sometimes it's easier to think about your lows first before you think.
I did not work out as much as I wish I had, to be honest.
That's okay. A new week, you know?
Yeah, you know, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Just motivation. It's not there right now. And but hopefully it comes back. Totally
fun. Yeah, it'll come right back to
you. But a high, I guess you could say. You know, I'm pretty stoked that we're allowed to have up to 10 people outside now.
Yeah,
patios are opening up, you know. Things are we're getting back into what we call normal life, I guess, air quotes around normal, because that's pretty subjective, but you know, it's been rough, so it's good to finally see that. And with all the other really terrible things going on in the world, I feel like that's just one small thing that I can be pretty grateful for
sure,
and just do my part to try and help out in other places, you know. Get vaxxed,
yes,
you know, follow the rules,
mm-hmm.
Have a good time, 100%. Treat yourself, but at the same time, remember this isn't over.
Exactly.
Nance?
Yes.
How about you?
Well, high and a low. A high.
My high was Miha.
My high, truthfully, honestly, Maya hates it when I say it, but Maya is truthfully the light of my life. I don't know what I'd do without her. Shut up. I'm giving you a compliment. Just say thank you. God. I know, but honestly, truthfully, I don't know what I'd do without Maya. This girl's literally my right foot. And
no, you're too good to me, Nance. Chill.
I love you too much.
I love you too, Nance.
Thank you.
This is not a romantic podcast.
Or is it? A high and a low for this week. Let me think. A low. Oh my God, I forgot everything that happened last week.
I know.
It's so weird. I was like, oh, what happened? Let me think about that. I spoke, honestly, a high. I don't do this often because sometimes I'm too scared to do it, but I spoke with my psychologist last week, and I don't do that very often, but it was a high for me because sometimes I don't realize that I need it. and I think I needed it. I realized I kind of needed to talk to my psychologist just so I can kind of clear my head, get my thoughts in check for this upcoming week. And it was really helpful. Yeah, I'm glad I did it. A low for last week. I remember driving home. I think it was Friday afternoon. I was driving home from practice and I started crying because I, sometimes life
Good
sucks.
for you.
Yeah. I think I realized I needed to let it out. And it wasn't even like I was sad about anything in particular. Um, I kind of was actually, but not the point. I was sad about something, but I think I had been holding in my emotions and just saying like, oh yeah, it's fine. I'm fine. I don't care. In reality, I do care. And I think when I was driving, sometimes your thoughts wander and I was like, okay, I do really care about this thing that's making me upset. And I just broke down. And then I bought myself a cake pop from Starbucks and I needed it. So I don't care.
So basically, if you're listening, that's the remedy to everything because
Yeah, cake.
crying, cake pops and crying, double
Ooh,
C,
it's
it's just
different. But for real though, like sometimes you need a little cake pop and a little cry. Like it's okay to
but
do that.
crying's good for you. Like this whole idea
Yeah.
of like,
When you
crying makes you a baby.
exactly.
Okay,
Or even
well,
when you have all these built up emotions, dog, you need to let that out because
yeah,
that's truthfully honestly all that I felt on Friday. Like I had all these built up emotions that I had just told myself. I've been telling myself, okay, I don't care, I don't care. And sometimes that works, but the thing is that's a temporary remedy. That only works for so long.
yes,
So I had all these built up emotions and then I was just like, you know what? I got to let it out. And I started crying.
yeah. You
And
can't reject your feelings, no matter how hard you try. As a human,
exactly.
we tend to push away our feelings or
Or
like
shove it
push them
down.
aside. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's not gonna work. It'll work for a bit, but it's if you don't address them, they'll come back.
It's like overstuffing a stuffed toy. Dog, you're going to explode.
Yeah. When you go to Build-A-Bear and you put that one episode of Hannah
Way
Montana
too much.
where she put the cotton thing in her
Yeah.
pants and her pants exploded.
Yeah, that's going to be you.
Yeah.
But you're
Don't do that.
Yeah, don't recommend. Look at Hannah Montana.
Oh god.
Anyways, as I said at the beginning, I got a bone to pick with some of y'all. Now, let me just throw out a little disclaimer. We've mentioned this actually last week on our episode. We are not trying to knock anyone who has achieved anything in any which way. Okay. Like if you have achieved success, if you have been successful, if you have achieved things that no one has, we're not trying to knock you down. But we're going to get
Absolutely not.
like, why would we do that? That's a little stupid,
Never.
don't you think? Who would do that? That's dumb. That's not what we're doing on this episode. The title of this episode, if you probably already noticed, is called Success is Not a Personality Trait. Now, I don't want you to take this the wrong way. I'm not saying that we hate successful people. What is a successful person? Okay. Like we've talked about this before with failure and success. It's kind of in the eye of the beholder because yeah, you can achieve success. But what we're trying to talk about here is the difference between being successful and being a good person. Now, we're going to elaborate a little bit as we get into this. So let's get into it.
Don't cancel us just quite yet.
Yeah, not
Don't
yet.
worry.
Not yet. This is only 11th episode, okay? So
Yeah.
not yet. We're not there yet. But hopefully I mean, this might not make sense to you, but hopefully you can listen and try to understand where we're coming from, or at least where I'm coming from. I don't want to speak for Maya, but
No, go ahead. It's
take
okay.
take what we say with a grain of salt. But this is what I mean. So achieving goals and having success is amazing. Obviously, everyone sets goals for themselves and everyone wants to achieve great things, right?
Yeah.
No one wants to be mediocre. And also, what is mediocre? Not the point.
Another episode.
Exactly. But achieving great goals or achieving your goals and having amazing success does not automatically make you a better person, right? So, like let's say for example, the Olympics, it's coming up. It's in less than 40 days. Crazy to think. I think personally, especially being an athlete, we put people on pedestals because of what they've achieved, right? You think of an athlete who's made an Olympic team or a runner who has achieved the highest level of their sport across the board, like in whatever sports, school, work life, anything.
Yeah.
We put them on pedestals. Elon Musk, for example, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who he is as a person, but we put these kind of people on pedestals because of what they've achieved. But are they really great people? I don't know that. But I'm saying I wanted to talk about this today because I don't know about Maya. Personally, I've encountered people who have achieved great success, but they are terrible people. And I'm not trying to,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, I'm not going to at them because that's not the podcast for this.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is just because you've achieved success does not mean that you are a great person. There's one thing that I really think is important, and I've heard from multiple people, especially from, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you watch it, even if you're not a swimmer. It's documentary on Amazon Prime. If you have it, it's called Head Above Water. In that series, they talk about, achieving great success in their sport, who they are as people. One thing that I really took out of it was, I don't want to butcher this. Okay, this is like not word for word, but you can't measure your life by the success that you have, but rather the relationships that you have in your life. Now, relationships can be anything, from friends to family members to significant others to acquaintances, anything, absolutely anything on that spectrum of relationships. But what I took out of that, being a successful person is amazing. You've achieved great things. That's amazing. Good for you. But look at your life. And I'm not just talking about your sport life. Look at the relationships that you have in your life. Are they good? Are you happy with how you're treating other people? Truthfully and honestly, I hope everyone can can look at that. Take a second and think about it. The people that you have in your life, how are you treating them? And I'm not saying you have to be friendly and so close, best friends with everyone in your life. That's not what I'm saying at all, because that's exhausting to do that.
It's unrealistic.
Exactly. No one has that kind of time. But truthfully, like, look at the relationships that you have in your life. You have to treat people with kindness, as Harry Styles says.
Obviously, in the sport life, we always say, I think we say it a lot. No one is bigger than the sport
Ever.
ever.
Ever. Even the greatest of all time.
Like
Never.
LeBron is not bigger than basketball.
And he knows that. Okay,
Yeah,
again,
and
we don't know him personally.
yeah,
It's what you do beyond your sport, beyond your sport life. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And we're not, again, not just talking about athletes, because I feel like this podcast, yeah, we do focus on athletics for the most part because it is a podcast where we talk with other student athletes. So sue us.
yeah.
But we try to make it a little bit universal. But truthfully, in an athletic setting, what do you do beyond your sport?
Yeah.
You hate to say it, but it's not your whole world. And
I
if
know. Yeah.
I know that might be hard for some people to hear, but honestly and truthfully, if it is your whole entire world, it's gonna come crashing down.
It
Because
does. Yeah.
and it does. And there are so many people who have crashed and burned from it because they make it their sole focus. And that can be good. I'm not saying don't focus on your sport, but there are so many other things. There's so many other people around you. And it's just not, in my opinion, it's not worth it to lose the people who care about you the most. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, to treat
100%.
others like crap because of the sport that you love, like, is that really worth it?
Yeah. I think there's you have to, like with everything, there's boundaries, and you know, I I was one of those people who cared so much about swimming and didn't really have anything outside of it.
Yeah.
And look what happened. Like it's tough. Like it does come back to bite you in the ass
Mm-hmm.
if you're just, I don't want to say overly invested, because I don't want it to sound like I'm saying that you're too committed to your sport, you need to relax. That's not what I'm saying. I was committed to my sport. I dedicated a lot to my sport, and a lot of people do. But at the same time, it's one thing to be very dedicated to your sport, but then it's another thing to just think that it's like you say it a lot too, the end all be all. Is that what
Yeah.
you say? Is that the
Be all
saying?
end all.
Be all end all. My
Yeah.
bad.
Close
Like it's
enough.
one thing for it to be the be all end all, right? And there's it all comes back to the idea of success, how we all define success so differently, and
Yeah.
it's not a personality trait. Like just because you have done this, let's say, I don't know, you broke this long-standing national record. Just because you broke that record, maybe that makes you a better swimmer or a better, I don't know, runner or athlete in your sport, but there's so much more to life than your sport. So
Yeah.
that doesn't make you better than everybody else
Exactly. Yes.
in real life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like that,
Yeah,
if that makes
exactly.
any sense.
100%. And in that, going off of what you just said, why do athletes feel superior when they do stuff like that? Yeah, okay, I get it. Because, or for example, in the context of swimming, because that's the only one and only thing that I know, when you break a world record, I can only imagine what that feels like. I don't know what that feels like, but I can only imagine that feels like you're on the top of the world, because you are. You're the fastest to do it in the
Yeah.
history of the sport. And that's amazing. But don't think that you are the best person in the world because of what you just did. How do you treat other people? I'm
Yeah.
going to go back to what I just said. I may sound repetitive, but truthfully and honestly, how do you treat other people? That's what you should be worrying about, because yeah, you have that on your resume, world record holder. That is an amazing thing to say. That is outstanding. Not meant there are there's a literal handful of people that can say that.
Mm-hmm.
But, out of your sport, if you're not treating people properly with respect that they deserve, that's going to bite you in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't go around thinking that you're this high almighty person, thinking that other people are just little to you. That ain't
Yeah.
it. Because again, it's going to bite you in the ass. And when you treat people like that, how does that make you feel? I can't see, this is what I'm saying. Like, people who do that, how can you do that? How can you just go around thinking that you're the best? I mean,
Yeah.
we talked about it kind of last week with Josh. You're saying how, when I'm in the pool or on the field, I think that I'm the best player. That's amazing. Have that confidence. You deserve that confidence. You deserve to feel like that. But off the field, off the court, out of the pool, perspective.
Yeah.
It's about perspective. You can't go around thinking that you're the best and no one else matters. That's the difference. You can't.
Exactly.
Mhm.
That's not how it works. You
Exactly.
don't push yourself, you don't raise your confidence to
By
tear
putting other
people
people.
down. That's
Exactly.
not what it is. That's just
Yeah. That's not what
you,
it does not equal that. That is
yeah.
not an equation that you want to have.
Yeah. Being confident does not mean you are tearing other people down.
Yeah.
And I one of the things that I love most in this world is seeing people reach their goals and be successful. Like this
Yeah.
past, when was it, Friday, I watched a good friend of mine become a Pan Am champion for her first time in wrestling. Shout out
Yes.
Nyla Burgess. She is
Love
a
that.
Pan Am champion, gold
Amazing.
medal. Congrats, Nyla. Like I love doing that. Like seeing people reach the goals and be successful, whether it be in sport, in school, whatever. It's just so rewarding to see. Or like the videos when you see online when people open their exception emails from universities that they've been
Yeah.
dreaming of.
That's
That's
so
so fun to
heartwarming.
watch.
That's
Like
amazing.
I love watching that stuff. So
Mhm.
I love seeing people successful. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that they get to belittle me or belittle the person next to me.
Exactly. Like,
Because
it just blows my mind that some people can be like, I've achieved this, I've achieved that. And then the next day be like, oh, they haven't achieved that. They're trash. They're not as good
yeah.
as me. They
And I
never
think,
will be. That is,
yeah,
whoa, 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 whoa. That is something
yeah.
I hate. I mean, in this, I'm going to
A
be
little
honest.
self-centered if you ask me.
Yeah, exactly. Like in the sport of swimming, if there is someone who has achieved something great in the sport of swimming and then thinks that it's okay to belittle other people because they're just not at the same level as they are, or because they haven't achieved what I have, so they're not as
Yeah.
they're not as deserving as me, or they're not as good as me, they're not as important as me.
Yeah.
Sweetheart,
Wrong. Hmm. I
pick
think it,
yourself.
yeah, and I think as especially in the context of athletes, even as
Mhm.
students and people in the work life, like why don't you want to see other people succeed? If you
Exactly.
don't, check yourself
Exactly.
because you should yourself want to succeed, but at the same time, you should want to see other people succeed, like the people you care about. You should
Yeah.
not be trying to I know it gets really competitive in any sort of world, but as soon as you say that you don't want someone to succeed, or you wish, or like, I think in the sports world, wishing injury upon someone is the worst thing that you could ever do.
Horrible.
Like,
Absolutely.
that's not okay. And
That says a
I'm all
lot about
for,
your character and your
exactly.
personality. It says a lot about you.
Yeah. And like I was saying before, I love watching people succeed and reaching their goals. And I want them to own that. Like, I remind them, like, you did that. Like, Nance, I remind you all the time, you go to Florida State University.
Go
That
home.
is a very well respected university around the world, not even just in the States. Like, that's a known school for swimming and for a lot of other things, academics too. Like, you need to own that. But at the same time, Ariana doesn't turn it back on me and be like, oh, Maya, you go to Ontario Tech? Don't talk to me. Like, no, like, that's not
What?
how it works.
But isn't it crazy that some people think like that though?
It
Like,
is, yeah.
and you don't, you're trapped.
Yeah.
Like, that is so crazy to me. Like, I just, it blows my mind that people can think like that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's like, don't let your success define you. The same
Mm-hmm.
way that you wouldn't let your failures define you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
don't let that, what you've achieved in life, don't let that define you as a person. Because if you
No.
do, you completely miss the point of how you should, again, treat other people, how you define your relationships around, like your relationships in your life. It's just, it's crazy to me that athletes can kind of crash and burn from this. Because once you're, you know what, we talked about this before on the podcast, but at some point it comes to an end. Your sport
It
life
does.
comes to an end. Not saying that you'll never be that swimmer or that athlete ever again. That's not true. But that portion of your life, it will come to an end. And when it does, what and who do you have? Because if you have spent your whole life treating people like crap while you were an athlete because you've achieved these great things, once you're done your sport, what happens to you?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's a hard reality, and it's something, again, I don't want you to take my words the wrong way. The moral of the story, the point I'm trying to make is that you have to be a good person before you can be a good athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can achieve great things while being a shit person, but I hope to God that people really check themselves when
Yeah.
they do that.
I think too, it's the idea of, um in sports it gets talked about a lot, but the coachability of an athlete. Like, I could be the best person on the soccer team. I could be the best basketball player in the world right now, but am I coachable? Am I a good teammate? Do I want to see other people succeed? Do I do my part, like, in the athletic world, with my team, with the people around me? If
Mhm.
not, then, like, congrats, I'm the best basketball player, but that's it. Period. There's nothing else to that. And I'm not coachable. People
Yeah.
don't want to work with me. Like,
My
no.
teammates hate me. How did,
Yeah.
like what, like, can you
Not
imagine
worth it to
that?
me. Sorry.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Can you imagine going your whole life, you know, doing exactly that and only having like a hand, not even a handful. I'm not saying that everyone has to love you either. That's not the reality. Like there are going to be some people who just don't like you, and that's completely fine.
Yeah.
But can you imagine all of these people having a valid reason not liking you because they treat, or you treat them like like shart?
Yeah. Like
Like,
what?
like that's not fun. That's
Yeah.
not good. Like, especially being an athlete who has achieved these great things. Understand that there are people who look up to you. Younger kids, elder people. There are people who value you because of what you've achieved. Now, I'm not saying don't let that get to your head,
Mm-hmm.
because you've achieved these things for a reason, because of your talent, because of your hard work, everything. But again, going back to what I said earlier, how do you treat these people? How do you treat the people that look up to you? You have to be able to. I know some people don't want to be a great role model. They'll never see themselves as a role model, but it's not even about that. You got to be able to understand that there are literal lives, literal other people that value you, not only as a person, but as an athlete who has achieved these things.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean to you? I'm sure it means a lot, because to have someone look up to you is a great thing. It's a great privilege. It's an
Mm-hmm.
honor even. But what do you do with that?
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, going back to, I think, like someone like LeBron James, everyone knows who that is, and he's just a really great example. LeBron is, he's in that GOAT argument. I see it online all the time. People are like, who's your GOAT? Who's the greatest of all time? And well, he is in that. If you take basketball away from someone like LeBron James, he's still a very influential person. Now, I understand he wouldn't have, maybe like the funds and stuff that he would have if it wasn't for basketball. But the idea is that he's using his successes to help other people succeed, like the school he opened up in his hometown. Like there's more to basketball than the rings, than, the records he holds. There's people around him, around the world, that, value what he does. And while he's confident, I think LeBron and even our last guest, Josh, on the podcast, are two great examples of people who, who take pride in their success, are proud of themselves, own it, believe in themselves, and, have that confidence. But at the same time, they don't belittle other people.
Exactly.
Like, that's so important. I'm not saying that you just need to be like, oh, like when people congratulate you on something, be like, nah, no, it's nothing, whatever. No, like Josh said last week, own it. Be like, thank you. Yeah, I did that. That's important. But you don't respond with, yeah, I know, I'm like better than everybody else. Like, no, that's just not how it works.
Exactly. Kind of going back to that series that I mentioned on Amazon Prime. There's one quote that I took out from it that I really, really liked, from Bronte Campbell. And she said, I used to put a lot of energy into being a really good swimmer, but now I'm putting a lot of energy into being a good person. And hopefully I can be a good person swimmer at the end. And that takes I'm saying this from a swimmer's perspective. It does take a lot to say that. Because for any athlete to say that, because you take so much pride in doing your sport and achieving the things that you have. And it's amazing. But that is the perfect quote for this, because you have to be a good person, because she knows that someday she won't be swimming, she won't be a swimmer. And if you're not a good person when you're done your sport, then what are you doing? What is it all for? It's just, it's not worth it. Who are you beyond your sport? Obviously, we mentioned this before. It's such a scary thing to think about. 100%. I completely understand that. But it's just, I'm going to sound repetitive, but I just don't understand how you think it's worth it to treat other people like crap because you think you're high and mighty. I don't get that. That will never make sense to me. Like, the people who actually put others down is just absolutely insane to me.
Be proud of yourself.
Yes.
Whatever you have accomplished, you should be proud.
100%.
But unfortunately, your sport is not for life.
Mm-hmm.
It's a part of you, but retirement does come. Your level, the level you're at right now, or at your peak, when you are at your peak, that's not going to last forever. And you do your part, but every athlete does retire at some point from the most competitive point that they were ever at. Like that comes for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that is forever is yourself, and hopefully the people around you, depending on how you treat them. So you just gotta keep that in mind.
Exactly. How do you
you should want to see other people succeed too. That I don't like when people are like, when people don't want to see that.
Yeah, that's an ugly trait to have.
It's ugly. Yeah.
I think successful people are successful for a reason. Obviously, I think it's not a personality trait, but successful people have certain traits that make them who they are, right? And I don't think that belittling and putting other people down should be one of them, right? I think the worst thing that I've experienced with this is that there are some people who have, achieved great things and then started treating me like crap because of what they've achieved. And that just wasn't great. They started, obviously in the sport of swimming, it's hard because it's a small world. Swimming is even smaller. I've had friends kind of throughout the sport, and, once they started getting to a higher level, they started to, think that people who aren't as good as them or maybe didn't have as much success as them, they weren't as important as them. And I think I'm not just speaking for swimming, I'm talking about like every other sport. I'm sure there are people like that in every sport, but I think that's the ugliest thing ever to me.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a nice feeling to have other people treat you like that because you're not as good as them. And obviously, they're good for a reason. As I said before, there are things that successful people do that make them who they are. But being on the other end of it, being treated like that, being disregarded or disrespected because you're not as good as them is horrible, because you almost feel like, oh, I'm not good enough. That's when all that stuff starts to come into play. I'm not good enough. I'll never be good enough. I'm not valued because I'm not good at my sport. That is the worst feeling, one of the worst feelings in the world, when you start feeling like that.
Imagine being that person too that made someone feel like that because you were being an asshole.
Yeah.
Like that's okay. Is that something you really want to carry?
Are you proud of that? Like,
yeah,
are
you really proud of that?
I really don't get it. Like, if I truthfully and honestly, to anyone listening to this, if you know me personally, and if I have ever treated you poorly, if you feel that I've ever treated you poorly, I hope you can come up to me and, we'll talk about it, have an adult conversation and talk about it. But I truthfully don't understand how people can treat others like that just because of what they've achieved, and maybe there's a deeper rooted issue. Like maybe, friends fall out of touch, and that's completely understandable.
Yeah.
But like, I just don't think that achieving success is worth losing people in your life. Like, I don't think.
Yeah, it's not. And then again, we all define success differently. Like,
Yeah,
what I
exactly.
see as successful, someone may not, but it's important that we find success in the little things. And I think too, is
exactly.
someone may be listening to this, or someone you may have a conversation like this with. I know there's someone who's going to say they're only saying this because, well, Maya doesn't even swim anymore. Like she didn't make it to where she wanted to.
Or Ariana isn't even that fast of a swimmer. Listen to yourself, please. I
was literally just gonna say, if that's what you're getting out of this conversation,
you're the issue.
Listen to it again, because you are the person we're talking about. Like, we're not adding specific people here, but
if that's what you're thinking,
then
if you're really thinking those things while listening to this episode, check yourself, please, because I completely understand. Again, I am not saying I'm a world record holder. I'm not saying I'm the best swimmer in the world. That is not what I'm saying at all. I have never said that, nor will I ever say that. But
I'm not even the best podcasters in the world.
Exactly.
I'm a teenage-ish people. I'm sitting in the corner of my bedroom with an Amazon mic on Zoom with my best friend. Like we're just vibing out here. But if you're sitting here listening to this or having a conversation like this with other people and being like, yeah, well, if they were on the Olympics or if they were on the national team, they wouldn't be saying this, blah blah blah. They'd be on the other side of it.
I can guarantee you 100,000%, if both Maya and I have achieved the greatest level in the sport of swimming, we would still be having this conversation, because we've been having this conversation. It's a conversation that needs to be had.
Even when I was in my prime, when I was in my prime swimming, I sound like a freaking 60-year-old, but when I was at the peak of my swimming career, I don't know, I didn't change what I did.
Yeah.
Maybe I just swam a little faster, but that's because I trained hard and I worked hard.
Yeah.
That didn't change my relationships outside of the water. I still cheered just as loud for my friends, my teammates, was just as happy for them when they reached what they wanted to reach. Things came down for me and that was tough, but I'm still in that same position, cheering them on, maybe even louder, because I'm a little more passionate, because I realize, damn, swimming's or sports in general, that's dope. You're still doing that,
And you know what? And I'm not trying to knock some of the people that I know who have achieved great things. I'm not saying that everyone that I've encountered has been like that, has been treating everyone like crap. That's not what I'm saying. I know people in the sport, especially in the sport of swimming, who have achieved great things throughout their lives and who don't treat others like crap. You know what I mean? Like, there are people out there, which is great. They treat everyone with compassion and respect, which is exactly what everyone deserves. But they also do stuff for their communities and the people around them and their families, extended so on and so forth. That's amazing. And that's, it takes I wish that's what I'm saying. I wish everyone would do that. Can you imagine if all the people who have achieved these great things, if they started treating everyone with respect and compassion and dignity, like the world would be such a great place. And unfortunately, that's not that's not the reality. But like j- what I'm saying is please just check how you're treating other people. Acknowledge that you know you can't it's not a good feeling to treat other people like shit. It's not.
Even outside of sport.
Yeah, exactly. If you're listening to this episode, if you're still here, thank you. But honestly and truthfully, if you swim, if you don't swim, if you play a sport, if you don't play a sport, anything, whoever is listening, please for a second today, just acknowledge or try to acknowledge or think about how you're treating other people, everyone, from your friends to the person you meet at the front door, holding the door for you, your coaches, your teammates, your friends, your family, acquaintances, anyone. Please just check how you're treating other people because the smallest thing can go a long, long way. And just understand that everyone is human. Everyone has, you never know. I said this before. I'm going to continue to say it because it's so important. You never know what someone is going through until you ask. Or,
Even
sometimes you
when
don't.
you do ask.
Exactly.
I don't
Or
know.
even if you do or you don't, you never know what someone is going through. So just be kind. Don't treat other people like shit just because they haven't achieved what you have. Like
No.
it's not
Yeah.
truthfully, it's not worth it. I just don't I sound so repetitive, but I just don't understand it. Like
Yeah.
why do some people feel the need to put others down? I don't get
Just
it.
don't do it.
Yeah.
Just don't
Just
do it.
refrain.
And competition is necessary. Without competition, there wouldn't be sports.
Hmm.
Like obviously that's necessary, but again, like have some sportsmanship, good sportsmanship.
Respect. Put
Yeah,
some
and
respect on everyone's name, for God's sakes.
yeah, put some respect on your name. So like we've been saying, own what you've done, own the work that you've put in, be proud of that. You
Yeah.
know, don't be afraid to tell people like, yeah, I'm an Olympic champion or whatever. Like, don't be afraid to tell people that. But don't, there's a way to say it. It's not I'm an Olympic champion. Don't talk to me. It's yeah,
Exactly.
I'm an Olympic champion and I'm really proud of that. I worked my whole life for this and I am. But you don't twist it around and turn it around and be like, "Oh, you're not one?" Okay. Oh, sorry.
Like,
No.
come on. You know what? And
Ugly.
on that point, I know people who've done that. I know people who are Olympic champions who have achieved the greatest level of their sport. They don't treat others like crap. But
Yeah.
some people think they do, but they just want to think the worst of them. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like,
And that too, you can't if you are, let's say, jealous or you haven't reached the goal that you wanted and let's say the person next to you did, that doesn't mean you get to turn it around and just start
yeah,
talking smack about them because you're
exactly.
upset that you didn't reach it.
Like
You
for
still need to be
what?
proud of yourself for what you've done, but also be happy for them.
Exactly.
Like
Exactly. And if you think, because I know there are going to be people listening to this who just listen to what Maya said and are like, isn't that what you guys are doing? No, no, no.
yeah.
What we're trying to say is the people who have, like, there are, again, you're not listening to it right if you're
Yeah.
thinking like that. Okay. We're not, again, we're not trying to knock anyone who has achieved great things. We're proud of you. We're so happy for you. We're knocking the people who are shit people. Okay. Like, that's what
Mhm.
we're doing.
Exactly. Even outside the realm of sports, the moral of this podcast is to be proud of yourself,
Yes.
own what you have done in a proper way without and just be kind to people. Just be nice. If you don't have something nice to say,
Don't say it, honey. Don't say it.
then just don't
Mm-mm.
say it.
Mm-mm.
And we should want to see each other succeed. We should
Yes.
and again, competition is necessary. When you step up behind the blocks, when you step up on the court, on the field, whatever, you should want to beat the person next to you 100%. But once it's done, once the race is done, you should be that person. Shouldn't really be an athlete anymore. You should be that person who cares and wants to see other people succeed and not that asshole
Yes,
who
exactly.
doesn't shake hands or doesn't do those kinds of things.
Mhm.
Congratulate people.
Exactly.
Ugly.
It is ugly. And I think one of the I mean, what I've seen, you can see it through documentaries or even the people that you meet throughout, like if you're an athlete in your sport, I think one of the best things that you can do for yourself, even if you're not, a novice swimmer, a novice athlete, the highest level athlete, I don't care, whoever you are, if you're an athlete, you know, taking yourself out of the sport for a second. And what I mean by that is, not hanging out with people in your sport necessarily. Yeah, you can have friends in your sport. That's amazing. That's how you grow relationships and everything. That's how I made most of my friends. That's how I met Maya. I met her through swimming. But take yourself out of the sport for a second, whether that's with family or even friends outside of your sport. Ground yourself with those
Yeah.
people, because those are the people that are going to help you with that transition too from life after sport, because you have to be able to take yourself out of the context of sport and sport life, right? Like, it's not, you're not helping yourself if all you think about day in and day out is your sport. You're going to unfortunately crash and burn if you do that, because it gets to people. It is really hard. Can you imagine going your whole life thinking about one thing and one thing only? That is super
Oh,
frustrating.
we
That is,
have a burnout episode all planned. That's
yeah.
coming. That's just
Yeah.
like these topics intertwine, but burnout in itself is a whole episode for itself.
100%.
And you're
Yeah.
you're 100% right. You need to ground yourself and be someone outside of your sport, because
Yeah.
okay, yeah, you're a swimmer, but as a person in everyday life, are you the person that makes people smile, or are you the person that makes people feel
Yeah.
a little
Mhm.
like crap?
Exactly. Like, check yourself. Is that
Mhm.
really who you want to be? And if you don't, you know what? As one of those things, karma kind of comes to bite you in the butt, because
Mhm.
when you're treating people like crap all the time, it will come back to
She'll
bite.
come.
Yeah, it'll
She'll
come.
do her
Or
job.
one day you'll realize I'm kind of lonely, or I don't really have anyone, or I have the wrong people in my life, or
Mhm.
I've been neglecting the people who cared about me the most.
And if you find yourself in that position, we said it earlier in the podcast, like everyone's human. Ariane and I aren't perfect. So maybe there was a time when we made someone feel like, you know, crap, whether it be intentional or not, but people make mistakes. And if you find yourself in that space being like, oh, damn, I definitely didn't treat somebody, or what I said to that person probably wasn't the best thing for me to say, you can fix that, take yourself out of it, reflect on it, apologize,
Yeah.
explain where you're coming from. Don't make excuses, but recognize that you messed up. Don't
And you
make
know what?
excuses.
Exactly. And one of those, you know what? Sometimes it is better late than never. I kind of want to say I hate to say that, because even a late apology is better than no apology at all. And I know
Yeah.
sometimes it hurts, some unfortunately sometimes it does take people some time to realize how bad they messed up. But you know what? It's better late than never.
But we all mess up. Ariana and I aren't going to sit here and say, oh, we've never done anything to hurt
I'm
anyone's feelings.
perfect. Girl, you have never ever heard me say that.
Yeah.
I know, you know what? I've had, even in the past 3 months, in the past 4 months, I've had situations where, you know what? I've treated someone unintentionally, I've treated someone poorly. No one ever, hopefully, no
Well,
one
not
ever,
never, but there are people that do, but usually
usually you
we
don't
like to
intend,
believe.
yeah, you
Yeah.
don't intend to treat people like that. But if you do, if you acknowledge that, you can apologize to people, and that's okay. You know, where no one's perfect. Everyone messes up sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Again, life is just really hard, and you sometimes you just treat people poorly. But again, check yourself, understand that other people have feelings too, apologize to them, and move forward.
And you know what that is? That's a reflection of who you are as a person, not as an athlete. And that's exactly what we've been talking about is as an athlete, okay, you're a champion, you're a world record holder, whatever. But when it comes to maybe messing up or making a mistake when it comes to personal relationships, are you that person that's going to put the blame on someone else? Or are you going to take responsibility, apologize, learn from it, and move forward? You
Yeah,
know? And
exactly.
that's just, that's a personality trait, not
Yeah,
not your Olympic ring, not your championship ring,
that to
not your
me,
world record.
yeah, and that to me says more, way more than an Olympic medal ever will. The
Mm-hmm.
way that you can recognize that you've messed up, the way
Mm-hmm.
that you can be so apologetic, the way that you can understand that you've
Learn.
messed up, learn from your mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
understand that will never happen again, because people don't deserve disrespect. That to me is what success is. Now, that may not make sense to you, but it makes sense to me, because if you're able to understand that you messed up and be the bigger person in a situation and be like, hey, I messed up, I treated you poorly, and I apologize. That says a lot to me. I wish more people would do it. And I wish
Yeah.
more people, yeah, that's really all I had to
Or
say.
if you even like, again, success is defined differently by everybody else, but I think a general consensus that would be great for all of us to adopt is, if you positively add to somebody's life or multiple people's lives, that's pretty successful.
I agree.
You're contributing, and yourself as well. You can't forget about yourself. If you're contributing positively to others and yourself, that speaks to who you are. And I think that's a very defining way to look at yourself and somebody else.
I agree. 100% agree. Well, truthfully, honestly, again, I hope you guys don't cancel us for this. I hope you try to understand where we're coming from. If you don't, that's fine too. You're entitled to your own opinion, but please understand that we're also entitled to our own as well. Again, if you are sitting here thinking, "Oh, you guys aren't even great swimmers. You guys aren't even great athletes. Why can you be saying this?" You are the reason we made this episode. Okay.
Did we not just talk about that for the last hour?
Yeah, exactly. Literally. Thank you for listening. If you stuck through the whole thing, thank you.
If you made it through this rant, thank you.
Thank you
You
so
are
much.
a true napper. You are a true nobody asked podcaster.
Yeah, we appreciate you, honestly, truthfully. No, but really, like, this is quick shout out to all of our friends, family members who have been listening to our podcast. We love you. We appreciate you. Or even if you're not a close friend of ours and you've been listening, thank you so much. It does mean a lot to us. You'll never know how much it means to us. We are grateful for you. We really wanted, again, we've mentioned this before, but we wanted to talk about things that we talk about every day. And hopefully, maybe you've never thought about these things, or maybe you have. This is an open conversation. Now, when this episode goes up, again, an open conversation. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about things like this. Let's talk about things like mental health. Let's talk about
just unspoken toxic traits of
yes,
life.
of the sport world.
I don't know.
Of life, exactly. Of the sport world, of life, everything in between. Let's have an open conversation. We are open. Our DMs are open. Have that conversation with us. We would love to talk to you about it. And again, thank you for listening.
Yeah, even if you haven't listened, even if you've listened to 5 minutes of one episode,
that's literally
episode. Thank you.
That's literally my brother. He's only listened. I wish I was lying. I'm not. He's subscribed to our podcast. Thank you, Aiden. He won't even listen. He won't even make it to this episode ever. But he's only listened to our first episode and the first 5 minutes of it. So
shout out valedictorian Aiden. Thank you. But no, like, again, we love this. It's fun, and it gets conversations started between anybody that does listen, and thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's heat, and there's so much more to come.
Exactly.
So
the best is yet to come. Well,
before we dip though, Nance, quick time before we quick.
Okay.
Update on the hype song.
That's a great question. That's a great question. I love
before we close it out.
Let me think. Let me bring up my.
I know we're not going to get through this episode without Ariana mentioning Billie Eilish's new music video and song, Lost Cause.
Oh yeah, that's okay. You know what? Unfortunately,
that is some bad bleep energy.
That's gonna be my honorable mention. I love that song though. Oh wow,
that's exactly what we're talking about though. But like, you know how she just owns who she is, but she knows she's not better than anybody else. Like,
yeah,
even like in the music video, if you watch it, like, she's with a bunch of people that maybe we don't necessarily know, but she's just like, I don't know. It was just such a good vibe. Like, I think.
I love that song. I love her. If you know
video,
me, I love Billie Eilish through and through. I love her a lot. I love it. I'm gonna name a few songs here because there are some that have really been hitting lately that just are on constant repeat for me. So here we go.
Give it to us.
I Don't Care What You Think, Solar Power by Lorde. Thank you, Lorde, for
Thank you. Lorde is alive, everybody. Thank you.
Another one that I've been loving loving lately. It's not a new song. Plain by, is it Benny?
It's Benny, my girl Benny from New Zealand. If you guys don't know who we're talking about, she's the girl that sings that the Super Lonely song. It was really trendy on TikTok.
Mhm.
Love her. 10 out of 10 recommend.
Great album. It's
Yeah.
a great album. The album that Plain is on, I can't remember off the top of my head what it's called, but Plain featuring Lily
With
Allen.
Flo Milli?
Flo Milli.
Yeah.
I actually don't know if I told you this before, but any song with Flo Milli in it
Flo
is
Milli.
so good. This song is so good. Oh my god. Those are actually, let me add one more. Sorry.
Give the fans what they want.
This is an inside look to my playlist currently.
This is a music pod.
Yeah, this is a music pod now. I'm gonna name 1, 2, 3 more songs. Sorry about it. I'll go quickly. I won't explain them.
No.
Okay.
This is your pod, girl. This is your podcast.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, I don't even care if no one listens to this. Okay. This is just, honestly, you're welcome. If you want to add music to your playlist, I got you. Here we go.
We're gonna link the playlist of all the hype songs from all of our guests and all the ones that we give. They're not even hype songs, just songs that we were vibing with and our guests that have been vibing with. So if you're ever looking for them, just the link will be in our Instagram bio, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And we'll link it to this episode too.
Period. Here we go. I don't know. Dutch Valley, Stormzy, Tion Wayne. Great song. If you haven't heard it, listen to it. Second one, Whole Lot of Money, Bia. It's a TikTok song. I don't care. Great song. Third one.
What do you mean you don't care? Every song's a TikTok song right now.
Honestly, that is so true. Oh, I hate to see it. But honestly, truthfully, those two, Charger by Gorillaz. Great song.
Oh, okay.
It's a weird song, but it's really good. I really like it. Okay, last one. Not a hype song, but I really like it right now. It's by Gautier. You probably forgot about them. Somebody that I used to know. It was a classic back then. What's the name of it? I don't want to get it wrong.
You put it on your story today, didn't you?
It's called Don't Worry, We'll Be Watching. Don't Worry, We'll Be Watching You. Now, if you listen to that one and Charger and you think I'm weird, I don't care. Those songs are like, I would describe them as unconventional songs, but I think they're
heat.
They are heat.
But heat.
Anyways, that's mine. Maya, do you have any hype songs?
Oh man, my girl Claro. Yeah, I'm a softie for Claro. Don't come for me.
Wait, is this hype song or just favorite song?
Oh, this No Way Blouse is a hype song. This shit, stuff is smooth, nice, and soft.
So can we just talk about that song for a split second? You can keep this in or you don't have to. I don't care. Blouse is such a pretty song, and the story of it is, oh god, it makes me want to cry. It is so pretty. The harmonies in that song. When I listened to it the first time, I was like, oh my god.
Claro is just, she's definitely one of my favorites, and I feel like a lot of people wouldn't guess that, definitely, but nah, I love Claro. Yeah, she announced her album next month. It's coming. I'm excited.
I'm so excited.
Can't lie for feeling a little bit of a hype song. Mr. Right Now by 21 Savage with Drake and Metro Boomin.
What a Mr. Right Now. Wow, great song. Good one.
Turn your phone off. Oh, copyright number 4. We're gonna get flagged so many times.
See, this is why I didn't sing any of my songs.
But honestly, I've been vibing with that song.
Love it. Good choice.
Yeah, I feel like that's all I have to say, really.
And I just mentioned like 10 billion songs. It's okay.
It's a rotation for me. I think I've been obviously off season by J. Cole. We talked about that with Josh and Oliver a few weeks ago, but it's a good one. But I definitely probably go with Claro and that 21 Savage and Drake song right now, Metro Boomin.
Good ones. All good ones.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But that being said, bye.
Literally, end call.
Yeah. See y'all next week. No, but for real, thanks for listening. Episode 11. Holy.
Crazy stuff. Thanks for listening. Honestly, truthfully, I know this was maybe an unconventional episode for us and maybe a little bit of a different route that we took with this week's episode, but it's again a conversation that we've had before, and we truthfully wanted to kind of put it out there. And if you've ever been feeling that kind of way, if you've ever been treated poorly because of someone who has achieved great things, that's just not a great place to be in. And we
Yeah.
feel you. Or maybe we don't.
Either way, hit us up. If
Yeah.
you have something you want to talk about on the pod, give it to us. We would love to
Yeah.
hear it. Like
This is what we're doing here. We're trying to have
exactly.
like this is just a conversation. Okay? Like we're trying to have a conversation with not only between us, but with you guys. So
Yeah.
if you ever want to talk about anything and you want to be on the pod, if you want to talk about something, if we talked about something that you want to elaborate on, we would love to hear from you. Truthfully, honestly.
This is a judgment-free zone, and we would love to hear from you. Like,
let's have a conversation.
We want this podcast to be a place where, you know, we don't just talk successes. Like we're obviously we highlight and are proud of them, but we also talk about maybe and those stories that don't get told, or if you feel like you have a you do have a voice, don't even feel like you have a voice, because you do have a voice, and if you want to use it to share your story or share something you're passionate about, hit us up. Nobody asked pod on Instagram. You know where it's at.
Period.
Anyways, but thanks again for listening, making it to the end of this episode. If you didn't, that's okay. Shout out you for even clicking on the episode. But Nance, I'll see you probably tomorrow, but for the listeners, we'll see y'all next week.
Bye.
Later.